All right, bam, we should be live. All right, let me get this up. Let me switch this over to all chat because for some reason when I start a stream on YouTube, it only shows me top chat. So I like to switch it to live chat, which shows me all messages. But yeah. All right, let me get this up. Boom, looks like we are good. All right. So, apologies for the late stream, or starting later than normal. I got home and I pretty much crashed, and I just woke up about 10 minutes ago. So, hopefully I could sleep again tonight. I had that ugly kind of nap where it's like my beard was like all up in my eye and like drool was everywhere, and oh my god. Brutal. What's up, Guppy? Welcome. You get to see me bleary-eyed and tired trying to make sense of my games. All right, so let's see what we got. So this is the old game that I'm thinking about rewriting. So you can see we are a little shuttle ship here. Woo! We're in a combat test system. So these two ships should start fighting here momentarily. Oh, we got a big Synthocracy heavy frigate. So definitely some things I want to change already. Like these heavy turrets, I think move a bit too slow. I think I should make the range on those a lot longer. They're firing missiles and stuff. It's all good. So cool. They're all fighting. They got shields and stuff working. This one's got beams. Beam, laser beams, beam. So let's go ahead and let's go back to the Genesis system. We're gonna blast out of here. And we're gonna get the hell out of here. You hit 2K, congratulations. Yeah, I know, it's crazy, right? I did not expect to hit that number. And it just kind of happened out of the blue. Pretty exciting. I'll have to update my YouTube plaque. I made my own YouTube plaque because you don't get one until like 100,000 subscribers or whatever. So if I just land. What's the button to land? I forgot already. I don't remember my own controls. Options. Yeah, I don't remember what my own control scheme was. Wow. Well, let's go look. Project settings. Input map. So, interact is F. There we go. So now I can land. I got a basic market screen, which I can definitely improve. I got a ship screen. You can browse ships for sale. That one's not too bad. I can also work on customizing your ship. So you buy upgrades and you can like put them on your ship. So that's kind of where I left off. And this was a big mess basically. So I'm gonna sell that upgrade. Yes, done. Leave. And that was the bug I was trying to fix. I could sell it, but it's still there. And it's just being a big pain in the ass. Did you make this? Yes, this is a game I'm working on. And I'm thinking about rewriting it from scratch because I kept... So, looking at my videos, right? I have a big playlist called I Make My Own Game. And I started this way back in September of 2022. So it's been almost 3 years I've been working on this game. Now, it hasn't been 3 years straight. I've worked on it in like stints, and then life circumstances sometimes happen. stuff happens, right? And so I can't dedicate as much time to it. Especially recently, since I got this last job that I have. I've been at this job for about 2 years now, and it's been taking up a lot of my brain power up here. So usually when I get home, I am mentally exhausted and not really much creative juices left to do stuff. But I started out making it in Game Maker Studio, and then looks like about November of 2022, I started rewriting it in Godot. So when I did that, I wrote it in Godot 3, which was the only engine available at the time. Dan, your dedication's low-key inspiring. If I was dedicated, this would be done already. I feel like my dedication is lacking. So I ported it over to this engine, and it was an engine I haven't really worked in much before. And I basically built it from the ground up, and I tried to do things in a more Game Maker Studio way instead of how it's supposed to be done in the Godot engine. And so there's lots of pain points that I have with the game right now, and a lot of it has to do with how I wrote it. So, for example, my ship script is 1,500 lines of code. And so anytime I go to make a change, sometimes it affects multiple parts in the code. It's all very, very messy. And a lot of the things that I have are in these massive dictionaries, or another words for them are like maps or structs. I'm used to the term struct because I'm usually writing in Go for my day job. But this is all in this JSON-like object here. And so what ends up happening is when I make a change here, I don't have the autocomplete functionality within the editor itself. And so if I make a typo, say if instead of Bilbo Swaggins' ship wholesale, it's just Biblo or something like that, right? I have to find out where that is and fix it. And that could be a pain. And so what ends up happening is everything is very, very brittle. And so if I make a change and it breaks something, it's like a house of cards and it all kind of breaks. And I'm struggling with that. So I think now that I have a better idea of what I'm doing in Godot, I want to re-architect it from the ground up. And I also want to use the newest engine. I'm using Godot 4.4.1, whereas on my old game, I'm using 3.6. So I'm not porting it to a new engine, just an updated version of the engine I've been using for the last few years. So that's what I'm kind of playing with right now, is I am playing around with debating whether it would be better in the long run to just rewrite it in Godot 4 and re-architect it from the ground up now that I have a much better idea of what I have to make, or keep struggling and try to fix what I have in place, which is not ideal. So I haven't gotten very far so far with the rewrite. You can see I have a ship that moves. It floats through space, kind of like it does in the other one. And so the part I should work on now is thrusters. We need to have those ship thrusters like it does in the old game. So when I am flying around in space, I like having ship thrusters. So I'm gonna start a new game. So you can see here I have this little shuttle here, and when I go forward, there's a thruster like on the back, and then when I turn, there's thrusters on the side that like turn it, right? So I kind of like that effect. I can also strafe, which is not really noticeable because the background of space doesn't move that fast, but it's kind of cool. So the thrusters add a lot to it as well, and also the fact that it kind of glows. So these are particles that I kind of made by hand, which they kind of suck. So I found some particles online on a site called Open Game Art, which is where people can the ship get damaged? Oh yeah, in the old game you definitely take damage. In the new game I haven't programmed that yet. So right now I'm just handling the movement of it. So I don't have anything that handles the health of it at all yet. So I have the health defined in the ship data resource. So if we go and control click that, it takes us right to it. So you can see I've got like our max hull and also, where's our shield? I thought we had shield info on here too. Maybe I was going to do that in a different spot. Anyway. So yeah, so I'm still kind of playing around with the idea of, do I actually want to rewrite everything? Or should I just refactor it in place? I'm leaning towards rewriting everything in Godot 4 because I do get a lot of features that Godot 4 offers that Godot 3 does not. And if I want to refactor it here, I'm still going to run into some shortcomings that don't make sense. So here in the old ship code, I just have a bunch of these variables that just vomited everywhere. Some comments explaining what they do, but for the most part, it's all kind of just vomited everywhere. Tons of code, just all very compact. Well, I'm here whenever you stream, except on Monday to Friday, starting from September 3rd. Not to help you, but to motivate you. Well, I appreciate that. I'm going to be streaming probably Sunday through Thursday. So you'll probably only be able to catch my Sunday streams. But it's all good. I appreciate you. So let's take a look. So let's do the immediate issue of thrusters, right? So I think I started working on ship thrusters. So we have this like kind of particle I made here. I think this kind of looks like a cooler thruster. We'll see how it looks in theory, but it could be cool. I think maybe, so let's take a look at this particle here. So spawn position, we got the emission offset, and let's see, where is display? So the scale. So the scale changes around. I think maybe we should make this maybe 0.09. There you go. It doesn't fluctuate as much. And maybe 0.10. There you go. So that's a more, it's not quite so crazy. It's giving Moonhorde vibes. Nice. So the only thing I don't like is right here. You see how it has like this line that like hard cuts off? I think that looks weird. But that is due to the image that I'm using for the particle itself. So I think we're going to do is if we go to sprites, open game art, particles, I have this particle that I'm using here. And so you can see we're using muzzles. So this is supposed to be like a muzzle flash. So if I go and I'm going to show this in File Manager. So it's this one right here. If I open this with, let's say, Pixelorama, which is an art program that I'm using. So I'll just close this for now. So it looks like it's like hard cut off around here. So what I might do is I might just take like this eraser and we'll just make sure that it's trimmed like in a somewhat sane manner. There we go. And then we will save. No, we want to export. We want to overwrite it. Okay, cool. So now once we go back into Godot, so you can see like it's a little better. It's still kind of haggard though. So I kind of want to blend that out a bit more. That way it's not so harsh. So if I come in here, and how do I blend? There's pencil. There's a shading tool. I feel like this is probably not going to do it, right? I don't know. Maybe it might. I wish I could see better. Let's put this on. Let's see. Let's add a layer to it. So I'm going to add a layer. I'm going to put it below it. And then we're just going to dye this layer. Let's see. Let's go ahead and dye it white. I want to see what happens. Where's my fill tool? There it is. Ba-da-ba, ba-ba, ba-da-ba, 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 ba-da-ba. So you see this kind of harsh line is still here. This harsh line of shading. I want to get rid of that. So if we take this, that is not, definitely not what I want. Let's go with layer 1. I feel like this is just making it darker. All right. So we want to lighten. Here we go. Simple shading, hue shifting, maybe. No. Color replace, maybe. Not really doing anything, to be honest. Overlap it, or that bug it up? What's that for anyway? So this is supposed to be a shift thruster. So this is going to be the rear thruster of a basic ship. And so I want it to not have this stark darkness right here. I'm trying to figure out how to lighten that up. So let's do... Let's go back to the eraser. So eraser, let's crank down the opacity to like 170. And then we'll see if this kind of works. No, that does not. That does not do it for me. It also does not do it for me. So it's still... It's not really doing a difference. So opacity must not do what I think it does. Density, maybe let's do like, I don't know, 65. No, that doesn't do it either. Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. So it was like a blur tool. Tell you what, let's close this. Exit without saving. So what we'll do is we're going to open this up in another program called Krita, which is like a free version of Photoshop, which is also a good tool. So let's go ahead and let's see, where did I make GD4, assets, sprites, open game art, particles, muzzle 01 rotate. Let's open this one up. All right, cool. So same kind of deal. I would like to add another layer. So let's add a layer. There you go. We have a background layer. Actually, you know what? No. The background layer is the image itself. So I want... Let's do the same thing we did earlier. I just want to fill with... Let me pick my color. We'll do this. There we go. So now we have access to a lot of other tools that would have been useful for my grade 8 art homework. Yeah, probably. So let's see, where is... There's a whole bunch of tools on here. I hardly use it. So freehand brush tool. Let's see, let's go to erasers. want a soft eraser. Okay, so that was the background. We want to be on the actual layer here. There we go. Oh, that's so better. There we go. So now if we hide this background here, look at that, amazing. Cool. That's all I wanted. So let's remove that layer. Now we have this, so we can go File. We're going to save. Hit OK, I guess. And this is going to go into here again. I don't think that really updated. So what we'll do is, let's make sure it did. Ba-da-bup, ba-da-bup. Did that actually save? Save as, muzzle 1 rotated, save. Yes, replace it. Okay, keep that. Let's go back into Godot. It did not re-import it. Tell you what, let's swap this out for a different one real quick, and then we'll put this one back. Still showing the same shit. So why did that not save it? Paint layer, we'll put that back. Da 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 da. Why are we not dyeing it? Okay. Interesting. So why is this layer not working? What's up, JS? How are you? I am fighting with an art program I don't quite understand. But we're fighting through it. We're going to select all of this. And then we're going to use our fill tool. Oh, why are we still set to erase? Interesting. Okay. So I didn't know that the brush type affected the fill tool. So that's interesting. Okay. Now we have that. Let's go back to this layer. I want to make the brush size like a bit bigger. I want to calm down that shadow there a bunch. I think it's working. There we go. So now we can hide this layer. Do File, Save As. We'll overwrite it. Save, yes. Okay. Go back into Godot. See, it's still got that compiling darkness there, which I guess it won't be too big a deal. Should be fine. I don't know. I just thought it looked weird. Which programming language are you using to code the game? So I'm coding it in the Godot 4 engine. And Godot has its own language called GDScript, which is similar to Python in several aspects. So, yeah, there we go. Anyway, so now we have a rear thruster, right? So here's what I like to do is I'm going to make... Where would it make sense to do this? So we got that one. That one should be fine. Thrusters. So definitions. So I'm going to create a new script. I'm going to call this one ship thruster. because there's some additional functionality that I want to be able to have for a ship thruster. So we're going to create this. It's going to extend, what is it, GPU particles? Let me see what it inherits. GPU particles. Yeah. There we go. Are you a software engineer? Yes. That's my day job. And it's one of the reasons why I don't really have a lot of brain power left over after work to work on it. Is it's all kind of leached out during the day at my job. So that's fun. At my work, I typically work in a program called Go. However, I do support legacy programs that are written in Microsoft stuff like .NET, C#. There's some C++ stuff. There's also some old Visual Basic stuff I got to support too. Yeah. And then of course, web development stuff uses things like JavaScript and stuff like that, so I can do that as well. So let's create that. And for this ship thruster, I feel like I should probably make this a class as well. So we'll do class name, and we'll just do ship thruster. A capital thruster. There we go. So what are we going to have for this? So because we're extending GPU particles, we still get all the properties and methods that this has. So for example, like whether or not it will emit a particle or not. So cool. Are you full stack then? Yeah, my previous job I was full stack. Now I'm like full stack plus because I work not only development stuff, but I do system administration, network administration, database administration, that kind of stuff too. I wear many hats. But yeah, I'm pretty much full stack. I can do it all. I'm more of a generalist because I can do it all. I do have some more sharp knowledge in other aspects of it, but I mean, just today I was writing some programs in Go to help automate some of my workflows, which mostly involve using a package called Playwright to interact with a browser. And then I'd basically automate this task that would normally take me about 5 minutes, and now it takes me 15 seconds. So there's a bunch of tasks that I have to do that are just a drag, and if I get interrupted in the middle of them, sometimes I have to like re-log into the site, and I got to redo it all again. It's just a pain in the ass. So yeah. Yo, I'm new to this. Is this Godot? Because I have a question, because it's only on mobile, so you probably don't know this, but does Godot have access to files? So mobile, I know that Godot does work on mobile. As far as having access to files, how Godot typically works is that it puts kind of everything in this resources folder, which is just in your, like wherever you create your project at, it has access to its own folder, which is this resources folder. At runtime, there's a directory called user, and that is like a user-specific folder that is made by this program. So, and only your user and this program has access to that folder. But it doesn't have access to the rest of your file system. So it's not going to have access to your images or anything like that. Are you working for a smaller company now? Is that why you're wearing many hats? Yes. So I'm basically working for my local county government. So it's a union job, the pay's a lot lower, but it's a smaller shop and we wear many hats. And so I'm on a small team of 4 people. And for a county of about 1,000, well, our part of it, there's about 250 people. So on any given day, I'm doing tasks from help desk to troubleshooting why Microsoft Outlook doesn't open, to troubleshooting why this data is this report is not pulling in the proper data, to interacting with various county, state, and federal programs and learning how those fucking work. And it's a big mess. So I had a lot of that base knowledge already. So that's kind of why I am wearing many hats, is because I can kind of do everything. in some capacity. It's not like I'm just a god that can do anything. Given time, I could actually research and figure things out. But for the most part, I have enough base experience and contextual knowledge on a lot of different topics and subjects that I can usually not mess things up, if that makes sense. And so I don't really get to spend a lot of my time doing development. The reason why I'm so exhausted all the time when I come home from work is that the best way I can describe it is with like computers and computing. Think of like a processor, right? So if you like, no one really is good at multitasking. We all have like single core processors up here, basically. This is kind of how I think about it. And you can only really focus on one thing at one time. Now you can do multiple things at once, and so can a single core processor. How it does that is it's something called context switching. And it's where you're basically juggling multiple things at once. So you work a little bit on this task, you switch over, work on this task over here, work on this one over here. That has a high cost, at least for me. It drains me. So if I've got 3 or 4 problems I'm working on simultaneously, people keep walking up to my desk asking me questions, I get a phone call I have to answer over here, there's a meeting I have to go to over here, we have a problem with the network over here, this database is not responding to calls over here. It's like there's a lot going on, and it feels like I can't focus on any one thing for longer than about 15 seconds before I have to be diverted to something else. So that constant context switching has a cost, at least for me, for how my brain is wired. And I'm used to being able to just throw on some headphones and just dig into a problem and just kick some ass and knock it out. And I feel like I can't really sink my teeth into a problem anymore. And so it ends up as by the time the day's over, I'm just spent. I'm exhausted. In fact, today, the reason why I started streaming later is because I came home, freaking went to the bathroom, came out, grabbed a snack, and then I pretty much thought, oh, I'll just go lay down for a bit. Next thing I know, it's like 2 hours later, and I just woke up from a crazy nap. Like there was drool everywhere. My beard was all like in my eye. Like my eye boogers were like had my beard caked into it. Like it was, I napped hard and I needed it. So now I'm tempting fate by trying to do a little bit more development. And to be honest, I'm really not feeling it tonight, but I'm still trying to see if I could power through it, make a little bit of progress on things. But at the very least, it's somewhat entertaining. And plus, I get to chat with you guys, so it's cool. So let's take a look at this rear thruster here. So I get access to all this GPU particle stuff, which also inherits all the stuff from Node 2D and Canvas item and Node and object. So I have a lot at my disposal just from this. And then the additional functionality I want to put on this is we need to know basically what, so how it works in the old game. If we go here and we take a look at any one of my ships, right? So let's take a look, let's go to my ships. Let's take a look at this this Coalition Arrowhead. So I bring open this scene. You can see over here, I got a lot of different things. So there's a component called ship thrusters, and I have rear thruster, left front thruster, right front thruster, left rear thruster, right rear thruster. I can have multiple of these, but these are named in a certain way, which is kind of brittle. And if we look at the script for this, so what this is doing is this is basically, we have 5 arrays to manage each of the thrusters. And then on our ready function, which is when we're entered into the scene tree for the first time, we're calling this init thruster arrays function. And what this does is it just goes and gets the children with a name that has the pattern of rear thruster, left front thruster, so on and so forth, and it adds them to those arrays. And then we're basically setting, hey, set thruster to emitting. This is an internal function. So we have this function called manage thrusters, which our ship code can call. And what this does is we can pass in our actions dictionary, which on the ship, I just have to find like what our actions are. So basically like what our inputs are, because a ship can be controlled by both a player and a AI. So AI is in the old definition, like just I program some behavior, not AI nowadays where Chat GPT is running in my fucking game. I'm not doing that trash. So this gets the inputs, and this tells us like what we're doing. So for example, if we are rotating left, if our ship is rotating left, that means that we want to, on the right front thruster, that should fire, and the left rear thruster, that should fire. And that way it pushes it around to the left. It will rotate the ship. I want it to give that feeling. So to recreate that in Godot 4 here in my rewrite, I would like to define a variable that we can set that's basically called, I think, like ship sector or something like that, right? Because, or maybe we'll just call it sector, because depending on like what sector of the ship we're on, whether we're on the rear or the left front, the right front, left rear, right, we can make that work. And so how do we specify? Let's see, do I specify certain types in any of my other definitions here? So we have an enum, that's fine. In fact, an enum might be a way to go. Yeah, let's do an enum actually. So we'll do that. We'll call it enum and we'll call it sector. And we'll make it a variable that we can set. So let's do that. We're gonna go enum, and we'll call it sector, and we'll just pass in so we'll do rear, and then we'll do left front, we'll do right front, we'll do left rear, and we'll do right rear. So maybe we'll spell it out: left front, right front, left rear, and right rear. There we go. And so what we can do is we can specify this variable called sector of type sector, which is in enum. And export, we need to do a var after this. There we go. So now what this means is that I can go over here to my thruster scene over here, and I can attach a script to this. Actually, no, create. Let's do, so ship thruster. I'm going to drag this onto this. That will attach that script. So now if I click on this, you can see over here we have a ship thruster class, and we have a thing that we can specify. And you can see we have different types that we can set. So we have rear, left front, right rear. So what if I do like this instead? Will that make it play better in the editor? I think it will. Let's save that. And now if we go here, there we go. So it's rear thruster, left front, left rear, right rear. So that should help be able to determine the logic for which thrusters should be firing. And then I can have a ship thruster manager that just has a method that accepts the ship controls, because I define that as a resource here. And so these are it's kind of like the same layout that I had with the other one. It's just passing in the controls that we have, because again, it can be a computer controlled ship or a player controlled ship, and they both manage the ship in the same way through a set of inputs. So yeah. Hey man, how's it going? Hey James, what's up? I am struggling through trying to see if I can make some progress on my rewrite of my game. And so I'm just trying to logic out how I'm going to tackle some things and kind of going through it. So now we're going to make another script. We're going to call this one ship thruster controller. And this is going to be of type node 2D. It doesn't really need to have any functionality from that. Is that Python? It's Python-like. So it's written in the Godot engine, which uses GDScript. It has its own scripting language. And the syntax and logic is very similar to Python. So I made a ship thruster controller. And we're going to make this also its own class. So we're going to make this one ship thruster controller. And basically what this is supposed to do is this node is going to have all the thrusters as children. And then I'm going to have a method called manage thrusters. And what this is going to do is this is going to accept, it's going to take in a parameter called controls, which is going to be of type ship controls. And then I don't think I'm going to return anything. And then we're just basically going to add like to do, let's see, determine which thrusters we need to emit and make it happen. So that's all we're basically doing. So I'm going to add a pass here for right now. And then we'll add a little comment here. So let's see. This method accepts a parameter of ship controls, and it will handle the emitting of thruster particles based on the current controls. So that's basically all this method's going to do. Yeah, I've never used Godot. My bad. It's all good. Godot is actually a pretty sweet engine. It's free and it's open source. So it doesn't cost you anything, which is cool. And because it's open source, if there's something you don't like about it, you can, if you want to spend time, you can go in the engine, you can make your own fork of it, and you could change whatever the hell you want about it. So for example, a while ago, I wonder what happened to it. So let's go over here to, let's see. What's this Redo engine? So, yeah, so a while ago, Godot had some community manager or something like that banned someone in Discord. I don't know. It was a complex thing, and I guess it pissed a bunch of people off. And so a bunch of people forked the engine and started making Redo or Redo maybe, which is a fork of the Godot engine. They were going to start making it on their own. But I don't know anything about it. I never used it. I don't know how they're deviating from it. But since it's free and open source, they basically just robbed Godot and they made their own. Looks like all they've done so far from like first impression is they've basically made the theme more red as opposed to the kind of darker blue that Godot uses. So I guess, I don't know, maybe this is the dark side. This is like the Sith editor for Godot. I don't know. But it's the entire engine. So they're evidently doing their own stuff. Now, I don't know what they're doing. But it seems like they're intent on, redoing Godot. And they are merging in commits from the actual Godot engine. So it's basically still Godot under the hood. It's just they're taking in all the features that are being developed on Godot itself, and then they're bringing it into their own engine, trying to resolve any merge conflicts and add their own features and stuff to it. But it seems like it's just a relabeled Godot engine. It's all it seems like. I don't quite understand why they did it. So Redo is a completely free and open source fork of Godot under the very permissive MIT license. No strings attached, no royalties, nothing. The user's games are theirs, down to the last line of engine code. Redo's development is fully independent and truly community-driven, empowering users to help shape their engine to match their expectations. I don't understand why Godot's not truly community-driven, but I'm probably just not informed on the matter. Before being open sourced in February 2014, Godot had been developed by Juan Lin, I can't pronounce that name, I'm sorry, and Ariel Manzour, both still maintaining Godot, for several years as an in-house engine, used to publish several work-for-hire titles. Redo was forked from Godot in September of 2024, intending to improve upon Godot in order to fulfill its potential and contribute to the shared code base of both through a more genuinely community-driven model than Godot. I don't know how Godot is not a genuinely community-driven model, to be honest, because I've contributed to Godot. I wrote a description for a function that didn't have a description, and I was able to put it there, and they reviewed it. They made some changes to make it formatted properly and all this cool stuff. So I don't quite know what's going on with that. But yeah. So for the managed thrusters, let's take a look at what our old code was doing. So for our old ship thrusters, we had managed thrusters, right? And basically we're just saying, hey, if the action is accelerate, then we want to go through and set our thrusters to be emitting. So I'm probably going to just do a similar logic here. I might just take these arrays, and then I might have an init thruster arrays method that just goes through and it iterates through all children, and it will see which ones have that variable of sector, and it will apply it to the proper sector. Is this a spaceship space game? Yes, it is a space game. So let me show you what the old game is doing, because I'm in the middle of like trying to rewrite it from scratch. Because what happened is, just for context, I have this whole playlist on my channel called I Make a Game Start to Finish. I know, super bold title, haven't finished it yet. And I started it making it in Godot, or in Game Maker Studio 2. And I got to about 30 episodes of that, and I decided I'm going to write it in Godot instead, because I would rather teabag a cactus than try to write UI in Game Maker Studio 2. So I was playing around with kind of Godot, just testing it because it's free, it's open source. And then so from that point on, I basically started writing it in Godot. Now, I was new to Godot, so I was porting an existing work in progress over to Godot and trying to write things in Godot in the style of how I wrote it in Game Maker Studio 2, which of course, they're very different engines. And so a lot of this code that I have right now in the old version is very lackluster. It's very rough. It's brittle. It feels like a house of cards. So if you look at my ship script itself, this is 1,500 lines of code. This is a bloated script. I don't know what the fuck I was doing. I was just trying to figure it out. What's up, Guppy? And I just threw it all in here. So now I'm trying to architect it in a more Godot way, since now I have a bit of experience under my belt with Godot. I kind of know how it works. I know a lot of the pitfalls I was running into, and a lot of it was just not thinking about how I wanted to structure things. So I'm taking a more work style approach to it, because I develop very differently for my hobby stuff, and then for my work stuff I do as a day job. With my work stuff, I always start with like the data. What data do we have to work with? Regardless of what application I'm writing, most business applications are the same shit. They are. They're just taking data, displaying it on screen, giving you some controls to mutate or modify that data in a safe manner, and that's really most of the stuff does. Sometimes you might have to manipulate other data, such as interfacing with third-party stuff. So you gotta like maybe work with an external API or stuff like that. But you're still working with data. And then when I approach like game development, I'm like, I just want to see cool shit move on the screen. Woo! And I don't think about the data. I just do what kind of I piece it together. This time I'm trying to think about more of the data, build it up from scratch, and then I'll know Like, hey, I'll know what data I need to play around with, if that makes sense. Why did you choose Godot? Was it because it's open source? No, I chose Godot because a friend of mine at work had said, yeah, I'm kind of playing around with this Godot engine. We were just kind of chatting back and forth. We were pair programming on a task in Jira, and we were just kind of shooting the shit. And he also was doing some hobby game dev stuff, and so he was saying the Godot engine is pretty cool. So I watched some videos on it. I tried it. I was playing around with it, and I liked it because, especially coming from GameMaker Studio 2, if Godot is all like node based, and so if you want to make something happen, you just snap in these different nodes, and it feels like it's Legos with code. And I really like that aspect of it. Oh, I want to make a character. Okay, cool. In GameMaker Studio, I would make a sprite, maybe an animation of the object, and then what I would do is I would make an object, a actual object, and then from that object there's different events, and I would have to basically program everything myself. I would have to manage the animation of the sprite. I would have to physically type code to draw a health bar to it, and it was pretty tedious. Whereas Godot, everything is there's a metric fuck ton of nodes in here, and so with all these different types of nodes, it's like all of a sudden in Godot, if I wanted to make like a character, okay, cool. I could have a sprite 2D for a static image, or I could have an animated sprite 2D that lets me specify different frames and animations. Okay, cool. That's like way easier. Awesome. And then I can, so let's say I just want my character to just be able to move around. Okay, I have a node 2D type of node that just allows me like basic positional stuff, and I can move it, I can translate it. But what if I want like collisions or like physics? Well, if I want physics, I can swap that out for a character body 2D node, which has physics built into it. So it'll automatically collide with solids and stuff like that. Okay, cool. I'm going to do that. Oh, do I want it to automatically have gravity or not? It's just a quick toggle. Okay, cool. What if I don't want to use physics, but I still want to detect collisions? Okay, just add an area 2D node onto your node 2D. And then you could add a collision shape on there to determine the bounds of what you're supposed to collide with. You just connect the signal from the area 2D, and then you could, whenever you need to trigger a collision or detect it if there is one, it just fires that signal, and you just hook up a function to it or a method that you do what you want to do, right? So it's very, very cool. What happens if I want to make like a cool sound when I fire it? Okay, just add an audio stream player and then just specify what sound you want that to play. And then you could trigger that audio stream player to fire or play that sound whenever you want to shoot your gun or whatever. Okay, cool, but it's kind of firing the sound at the same volume when I'm off the screen. How do I make it kind of scale that by distance? Oh, you just use an audio stream player 2D, which has positional audio built in. Okay, sweet, awesome. And it just goes on from there, right? There are so many built-in nodes that provide a lot of this functionality for you that GameMaker Studio had bits and pieces of it. There were some like functions that you could use that would help things out, but for the most part, everything was just contained in one object, and you were coding everything in that object, which is why when I started writing this in Godot 3, that's why my ship script is so freaking bloated, is because I'm used to just the ship having to be one object. I wasn't used to being able to break it out into, oh, I could break it out into smaller objects that do certain things, right? Because it'd be a pain in the ass. So on top of that, Godot has better data types. So in GameMaker Studio, they started being better about it. They came out recently with like lightweight objects, which are basically like JSON like objects that you could use. So dictionaries, maps, structs, there's some other word for it I can't think of off the top of my head, but they're all the same kind of thing. It's just a variable that holds multiple key value pairs, an object basically. And in GameMaker Studio, I've been using GameMaker since GameMaker 8 back in 2009, and they didn't have strong data types. They had arrays, they had 2D arrays, but if you wanted something like an actual like a JSON object, right? You had to use their special DS types, their data structure types, and you had to manage the memory for that shit. You had to like free up the memory, or else you could have a memory leak. And I was like, this is pretty archaic. I mean, what am I writing code in C here? Kind of reminds me of Unity's system of components that are put in objects, but with Unity, I find it so plainly integrating them together. I absolutely hate Unity for pixel art games. See, I tried using Unity, but it felt like there was lots of cruft to it, that there's lots of just so many options. I kind of got option paralysis of like, I didn't know what the hell to do. There's so much crap. Whereas Godot, I think, has all that stuff, but it does it in a better way of just giving you only what you need, right? So once you once you become familiar with a certain number of nodes, you can do a lot with just a freaking node 2D. And then on top of that, if you want to transition from 2D to 3D, a lot of the nodes you're used to using have a 3D variant. So instead of using a node 2D, you're using a node 3D. Instead of using vector 2s, you're using vector 3s. Instead of using a camera 2D, you're using a camera 3D, so on and so forth. This is really making me want to try out Godot finally. I mean, what do you got to lose? It's free. Best part is that, let's see. So Godot is super lightweight too. I think it's mere megabytes to install Godot. It's not that big at all. So let me see. Let me find Godot. So can I want to view the properties of it. Where does it live? Okay, so I am running it as a Flatpak. So that will have a bit more space to it. But Godot's pretty tiny. Don't even get me started on Unity. Yeah, Unity was pretty bulky. And I haven't even tried Unreal, because I imagine that's even more. So let's do this. We are going to have a non-exported variable. And we're going to just have rear. And we're going to make this of type array. And it's going to be array of ship thruster. This is another feature of Godot 4. You can have typed arrays and typed dictionaries now, which is huge. I thought Microsoft was bad, but holy crap, Unity takes it to a whole nother level. I hate Microsoft. I am so sick of troubleshooting random bullshit Microsoft crap. I hate it. I hate Windows 11. I hate how they keep slowly taking away pieces of just the old control panel and replacing it with their stupid new systems app or their new settings app that doesn't give you all the fucking functionality you need. Stupid. So we'll do rear, then we'll do left, front, which will also, I'm just going to copy this and paste this. And we're going to initialize it. I think it automatically initializes it to be 0 value, but I like to be explicit about it. So we'll just set this to just be 0 value. Bar, we'll do right, front. This will also be a type array var, left, rear. Do that, var, right, rear. I would use Linux, but all the CAD software I need for school doesn't run properly. Yeah, that is a drawback. Ugh. I miss Windows 7. It just worked. It didn't have any real frills. It was simple. It made sense. It improved upon XP. That was fine. Now they're fucking baking in AI into the operating system itself, which is, turn that shit off. I don't want AI snooping through all my shit. Fucking jackwagons. All right, so let's see. We're going to declare some arrays that we can use to quickly reference and manage our thrusters. And this, I'll say this will be populated in ready. Cool. So then we're going to have our func, we're going to have our ready function, which is called when the node enters the scene tree for the first time. It's a built-in method of just like node 2D. Actually, I think ready is, so ready is part of object, which is inherited by many things. So that's cool. Ship thruster controller called when the node enters the scene tree for the first time. So what we're going to do here is we're basically going to say we're going to get all of our child nodes, which should all be of type, or I guess I should say of class, ship thruster. So we're going to say var children, which is going to be, it should just be ship thruster. It's going to be array of ship thruster. That's what we're expecting. So because we're declaring this, we're setting this type. If I set something that's not a ship thruster as a child of this, it's going to crash. So that's expected behavior because there shouldn't be anything a child of this. So that's fine. That will let me know early on if shit's bugged. So yeah. So we're gonna basically make this. We're gonna say get children. We're gonna include internal. So I believe that. Let's see. If include internal is false, excludes internal children from the returned array. See, add child's internal parameter. Okay. Internal. These nodes are ignored by methods like get children unless they're parameter. Okay. So we're not gonna. We never use that. So because those are optional parameters. So force readable name is a Boolean that defaults to false, so it's optional, and internal is basically of type internal mode, which I assume is in enum, which just defaults to 0. So I'm not going to worry about that because I don't really have to use that functionality right now. So we'll say get children, and we're just going to leave the rest of that. Let's see, get children. That's right. So this returns an array of node. So then what we're going to do is we will iterate through, and we will basically for each child, we're going to iterate through. We're going to check, hey, are you a ship thruster? If you are, what sector are you? And I'm going to add it to the various array that matches the sector. So get children. And then we're going to iterate through each child to, and we're going to see if they are a ship thruster and what. Actually, no, we're just gonna do this. Iterate through each child node, and then we're gonna do, let's see, for, and let's say child in children. And so child should give us a node as the type. So if I put a pass here, see, this is where I like Go, is because I can mouse over something and tell what type it is, and it will tell me like, hey, this is what the fields are and stuff. That doesn't have that in Godot, which is kind of a bummer. So let's see. Is this a ship thruster? So I think, let's see, how do we tell in Godot 4? So Godot 4, how to check if node is of class. So get class of an object. But so this was 2 years, 3 months ago. It's probably still relevant. So given class name. Okay. So we should be able to just do get class. Actually, hold on, wait a minute. Yeah, extends node 2D. Cool. Let's do this. What do I got a notification on? Holy shit. I'm getting spam fucked by Verizon and Spectrum like every day. And I've turned off my marketing notification preferences, and they're just like, fuck you, I'm sending it to you anyway. You can't miss this deal. It's going to be amazing. I'm like, no, it's not. You suck. Leave me alone. I pay you. You give me the service I pay for, and fuck off. That's the extent of our relationship. I don't want to buy any more shit. If I do, I'll seek you out. So let's go to this. So we can say, let's see. So we'll say if child dot get class is equal to, and we will say ship thruster, and we will put a exclamation point. Actually, no, we're gonna do this. If it doesn't equal ship thruster, then this is not a ship thruster, so ignore it. So we're gonna hit continue, which is basically gonna skip over this current iteration, and it's gonna skip to the next one. So that means that any subsequent code I write down here is gonna be skipped. It will not execute. So let's see. We have a ship thruster. What sector is this thruster meant for? So then we can basically do like a match statement. So we can do match, and we'll do child.sector. Is there a way to cast a variable as another type? So Godot 4, can you cast a node as another type? Typecasting. Da-da-da. That doesn't make any sense. GT native side, everything is a wrapper. Now, whatever. We'll worry about that later. For now, we know that sector has a class of ship thruster. I wonder if I could cast it as that. Let's see. There's got to be a way to do that. I have a node. Cell as. Let's see. So that's not what I need. Let's check this out.
In GDScript, you must be careful about implicit casting. Like most programming languages, in GDScript, if you try to divide 15 with 10, you will get 1 as an answer, because these two are integers, so the result will automatically be cast to integer. It doesn't matter if GDScript is dynamically typed language. It doesn't matter that I have explicitly defined the variable as float. We also cannot cast the entire result to float, because we will be casting 1 to float, so we will get 1.0. To fix this, we need to cast one of the values to float. Since these two are literals, the easiest way to do that is by adding a floating point.
I can't believe it doesn't handle that. That's dumb. Either way, the solution would be to do 15.0 and 10.0. You would make it a float. If it's using type inference, it would handle that. So how can I get node instance type? Let's see. Let's do this here. So some class test method. This is old. This is like 7 years old at this point, so that's probably not good. Tell you what, since Brave kind of sucks, Godot for how to typecast. Okay, so I can do, in theory, I should do something like var t, which, how do we do that as again? Okay. Let's say thruster is a node or its child as, and we'll do ship thruster. Yeah, that doesn't work. I figured. Whatever. It's not that big a deal. So we know that it has a sector variable because we set that. So we have sector, which is of type sector, which can be set from the editor, which is cool. So we'll match that, and then we can do, let's see, how do we do match again in Godot 4? Because the syntax is a little different than I'm used to. So we'll do Godot 4 match statement. GD script. We'll search for match. Boom. Okay, we literally there's no case keyword. You just do a colon after. Okay. So then we can do ship thruster dot. Let's see. Well, we got to compare them somehow. So I know I can look at the ship thruster and say, okay, this is probably gonna be 0. This is gonna be 1. This is gonna be 2. This is gonna be 3. This is gonna be 4. But I want some way to reference that externally. Can I export that as well? I don't think you can export that. So tell you what. Godot for enums. Oh, that's right there anyway. So we can do enum. Okay. So how do we compare enums then? So enums are basically shorthand for constants, useful if you want to assign consecutive integers to some constant. Okay. Keys in a named enum are not registered as global constants. They should be accessed prefixed by the enum's name. Okay. So that's what I thought. It should be ship thruster dot sector dot rear. That doesn't work. So I think they're only scoped locally though is the problem. State idle, state shoot. I mean, it's exported because it doesn't have that prefix of of, you know, the underscore. So maybe we'll do child dot. This is where I would like to cast it as the fucking type. That way I have the autocomplete shit in the editor. That's one of the reasons why I'm going to Godot 4 is for more type safety. So how the fuck do I cast a type? Godot 4 cast node as another type. Show me. Let's see. Oh God, why is it so bright? I hate it. Ah. So I would like to kind of do like as array of ship thruster instead. No, that doesn't fucking work. So children and children, which is returning a node, which doesn't give me all the info I want. Let's see. Can we cast it as, you know what? Let's ask AI. It's been a while since I played around with AI, so let's go ahead and ask Claude. He's probably gonna give me some bullshit answer, but we will ask Claude. No, do not fucking improve, Claude. What's changing? Data retention of 5 years. Not now. That's cool. They give me the option to ignore it. Hi, Claude. In Godot 4, is there a way to cast types? Here's an example. I have a class called ship thruster, and I have another class called ship thruster controller. And basically, I'm trying to get all the children from the ship thruster controller. However, get children returns an array of node. And I would like some way to cast a node as a ship thruster so that my editor has all the autocomplete functionality, and I know therefore giving me the knowledge. Yeah, whatever. Autocomplete functionality. Any ideas? Gotta be polite to our AI overlords, because when they take over, they're gonna beat the crap out of us. So, thruster equals child. Okay. Let's try that one. See if that works. See if it's just a syntactical thing. For autocomplete goodness. So we'll say var thruster equals child as ship thruster. Does that work? I think that works. So does that mean that now I can say, now we can determine what sector this ship thruster is for. So we can do match, and we could say thruster dot sector. Oh, I got that autocomplete. It got that autocomplete. So now we can do thruster dot sector dot. It doesn't give me that. I don't know. See. If I have, let's see, if ship thruster has an enum, let's see, named enum that is named sector, how can I compare the values of that without using hard-coded magic numbers? For example, I would like to compare sector.rear or something like that. You can create local constants? No, that's bad. Okay. So let's see, thruster dot sector dot rear. Does that work? Doesn't tell me what it is. It knows that it is a ship thruster though. But it won't tell me, it won't autocomplete the fucking variables about it. So that's kind of a bummer. So they're still working on the editor kind of stuff, I guess, which is fine. So then what we're going to do for this is we're going to say, okay, let's add it to rear, was append or something? Append, and we can just do thruster. So we'll have that there. Now we don't have to do any sort of break statement or anything like that. It automatically does that as far as I know. So if we go to Godot for match, right? We go back to that, go back to the reference, do a control F for match. So C match. So it's basically the equivalent of a switch statement. Yep. So crash course people who are familiar with switch statements. Replace switch with match, remove case, remove any breaks, change default to a single underscore. Okay. That's fun. Okay, cool. So now we can just do thruster dot sector dot, what was it, left front is another sector. So then we can do left front dot append. We can add the thruster. So basically just doing that. We're just basically, let's see, what part are you rewriting right now? Is it just rewriting the ship's thruster system and making each one independent? So I'm rewriting the thrusters, so they're just visual flare, but I want them to whatever your ship controls are, I want to respond to that. So if I'm turning my ship left, that means that I want the right front thruster and the left rear thruster to fire. That way it acts like it's putting forces and like rotating the ship. If you're accelerating, your rear thruster should be firing. The thrusters have no effect on the actual ship itself while the code is separate, but it is visual flare. So all I'm doing right now is I'm just basically making 5 arrays for each sector, and then I'm going to have this manage thrusters, which will emit those particles for each like sector based on whether or not we are doing something. So that's really all I'm doing here. So in this ready function, I'm setting up my thruster arrays so that I know what types I have. So that way I only have to iterate through all of my thrusters once to determine what type they are. And then if I want to manipulate a certain type of thruster, so say my ship has like 5 rear thrusters, I only have to iterate through the one array as opposed to all of them and then check sector every time. It's just a performance thing. So that's my thinking and logic there. So thruster dot sector dot, we'll do right front, and we'll do right front append thruster. And then we'll just knock out the other ones here real quick. Sector dot left rear, and we'll do left rear dot append and thruster. Why are you using array? Does each thruster type store information that you need to access? So I'm using an array because right now this ship thruster controller will have multiple thrusters as children. I'm using an array just so I can only iterate through the ones I need. Because say, for example, if I'm accelerating, I have to make 5 thrusters, like 5 rear thrusters go. So I have to reference those somehow. So rather than doing that by using like get children and then trying to get children of a certain type, every time I want to manage that, I'm just doing it once. That way I know, hey, I have an array of these thrusters. Then I can just iterate through those array, just that limited data set, and I can just set all of those to emitting. Or if I'm not accelerating, I can set those to not be emitting. Is the thought process there. So thruster dot sector dot right rear. And we'll do right rear dot append thruster. And then we're going to add a default case just for fun. And we're going to say print ruh-roh Raggy, something is not a ship thruster. So that'll just print to my console in case something is not. Ideally, this would never fire, but just in case it does. Yeah. Okay, cool. So now we got this set up. So there you go. So we're getting all of our children. Get children, this method returns in an array of node. For each children, we're checking if the class is ship thruster, so we know for a fact it is a ship class, a ship thruster. If it's not, we are ignoring it. We're just skipping it and continuing to the next iteration. And then now that we know for sure that it is a ship thruster, we are casting that type as a ship thruster. And then from here, we're just basically matching the sector variable to the sector enum to make sure we have the right, the actual enum that we're looking for. We're just comparing that integer is basically what it is. And if it's of the correct type, we're adding it to our array so that we can manage that as needed. So now that we have that, let's go back to our old code here. So ship thrusters. So we have that init thruster array, which is really could have just been in ready anyway, but whatever. So then we have set thruster emitting, which this is a helper function so that we can just iterate through all of our thrusters and set them to be emitting. So I'll probably do something like that here. But so are we supposed to show all the thrusters? If show all, so that was another thing I added on. So like when in my ship customization screen, if you're adding thrusters onto a ship, you should be able to see them all. That way they're all firing. So that was something I wrote there. I don't know if I'm going to go with that approach here. But you can see for our rear thrusters, we're saying, hey, if actions.accelerate is true, we're going to set the emitting to be true of only our rear thrusters. Otherwise, we're going to set it to be false. Okay, cool. So if we're rotating left, then we want to set the right front thrusters to true and the left rear thrusters to true. Otherwise, if we're not, ensure that we're not strafing, because strafing will also affect those thrusters too. So we're just kind of doing that logic. So I think I'm going to take this, because this logic is pretty sound. I'm just going to copy this, and I can't one for one copy it and bring it over, but what I can do is I can copy it here, and then I can go through and I can just comment it out so that I can reference it to see what my logic was before, and that way I can make it happen. So I do like having that helper method of, let's see, set a group of, let's see, this helper function will iterate through each of the, each thruster of the specified array and update their emitting variable accordingly. So func, we're going to see, what was it called? Let's see, set thruster, we'll just say set emitting. How does your game update? Does it run certain methods once per frame, once every X seconds? So for this here, this is going to probably be called from my ship script. And for my ship itself, there's a process event which runs every frame. And I'll probably end up, so this is where I'm getting my ship input from my controller object, which can be either controlled by the computer or by a player. And then from here, I'm actually handling the ship movement. And then I'll probably add a section down here that says manage our thrusters. And then I'll call that ship thrusters.manage stuff. So it will be called every frame. But I can also, like if I want to do like a performance or something like that, I could do a debouncer and basically make it run, let's say 3 times a second as opposed to 60 times a second, right? So there's different ways that you can do it. But, oh, actually, I'm using a different pattern here. Set emitting. I'm used to doing camel case for a lot of my stuff, and in Godot, I'm trying to conform to the Godot method of using snake case for all the things. Func set emitting. So we're going to set the, let's see, we're going to say thrusters, which is going to be of type array of ship thruster. And then we're going to say emitting, and this will be a Boolean, whether it's true or false. And this is not going to return anything. It's going to return void. And then what this is going to do is it's going to basically iterate through all of the thrusters in that array. So we can say for thruster in, this should be thrusters. Thrusters. And we can say, what was it doing in the old one? We're checking if instance is valid, which is handy. So if is instance valid, because sometimes like when you're destroying an instance, code can still be running. It might be queued to be destroyed, but I like to just check to always make sure it exists before trying to manipulate it. So that's why I did that. So we can do thruster. So if instance is valid, we're going to say thruster.emitting equals emitting, right? So that'll be true or false. So if we look at ship thruster, which extends GPU particles 2D, then we can see that we have a variable called emitting. If true, particles are being emitted. Emitting can be used to start and stop particles from emitting. However, if one shot is true, emitting to true will not restart the emission cycle, blah, blah, blah. So we're not going to worry about one-shot emitters. I don't believe I have this set to be a one-shot. Emitting is set to on. It is not set to be a one-shot. So yeah, all that stuff is fine. Cool. So then what this allows me to do is this allows me to just basically run the, because I'm gonna, this is like repeatable code that I have to run all the time. So I can just call set emitting as opposed to doing this every time I want to update it. So let's see. So we'll do rear thrusters, and we're gonna do basically if controls dot accelerate equals. So this will automatically evaluate to true if it is. So I don't have to do equals true, because that'll automatically, because it's already a Boolean, so it will evaluate to true or false automatically. So then we could do set emitting, and we could do rear, and we could say true. And then we could just basically add an else, and we can do the same thing, set emitting of our rear thrusters to be false. Cool. So rear thrusters, let's actually highlight all of this. I'm gonna shift tab this, that way it's all in line. So rear thrusters are done. We don't need those anymore. Turning and strafing is a little complex. Side thrusters may be affected by both strafing and turning. So that's actually a great comment. I'm gonna pretty much just copy that word for word, to be honest, because it's true. So, I don't need double quotes here though. So we'll leave that there. And then we're basically doing the same kind of thing. It's the similar logic. This itself wasn't inherently bad. I did this later on, so this is actually pretty sound logic. So I'm not upset about it. If controls dot, what are we doing? Rotate left. If controls dot, turn left, yeah, turn left. So if controls dot turn left, that's already a Boolean. It's going to evaluate true or false. Then we're going to call set emitting of our right front thrusters to be true. And we're going to set emitting of our left rear thrusters to be true. And then we have to do a little complex else here. So we could do like an else if we wanted to. But we'll just group the ifs under here just like I did before, because it worked fine. So if, what the hell was this? Was this if not action strafe left equals true? So why don't I just put just not strafe left? Because if it's true, it'll evaluate. I don't know, whatever. Okay, whatever. I was probably tired when I wrote that one. So if we'll be explicit about it, controls dot strafe left So I could have done like an else here as well. Oh my god, I'm tired. Holy shit. So actually, let's just do this. Let's do, I think it's just elif. So we can do elif, and then we can do controls dot strafe left. So we can do that. And then we can say set emitting. And what we're basically doing is we're not turning those off ever. How are we doing that? Maybe we're doing that with our strafing. Oh yeah, we are. We're covering. Is that the way to do it though? Okay. Interesting. So we could say elif if we're not, we will set this stuff in our strafe code later. So for now, we're just checking, hey, can we turn off the thrusters? So we're just making sure that we're not strafing. So if controls, if strafe left is not on, then we're just going to set emitting of right front to be false. And then we're going to do elif, and we're going to do controls dot strafe right. And we're going to set emitting of the left rear this time, I believe, to be false. There we go. So now we're going to, this is the logic for turning left. And then we'll do something similar for turning right. So we can get rid of this logic here. So if controls dot turn right, I know I could copy and paste the whole block and then tweak it, but I feel like I'm going to miss something if I don't type it out. So I'm just doing that right now. We're going to set emitting. So we want our left front and right rear to be true this time. So we want to do left front to be true. And we want our set emitting of our right rear to be true this time. Then we're going to do elif. And we're going to do, actually, I'm pretty much going to copy this because this is, so now we're going to do this to be left front, and this to be right rear. So yeah, that should be what it is there. Left front, right rear. Yep, I was right. Stonks. All right, that part's done. So now we have strafing left. And then we're just doing something simple. If controls dot, was it strafe left? So then we are, actually we're not doing anything with that. Interesting. That's commented out. Why is that oh, it's commented out because everything's commented out. I'm an idiot. Set emitting. We're going to do right front and right rear for strafing. Set emitting right rear. Also going to be true. We're going to do a big old fatty else. And we're doing kind of something similar here as well. So I'm going to change this logic to be basically similar to elif. And we're going to say controls dot turn left. And if we're not turning left, then we will set emitting of the right front to be false, and then we'll do elif, and if controls dot turn right is not true, then we'll set the emitting of our right rear to be false. This is why the sector is kind of important, because it's I gotta manage which way they go with strafing and turning, and so it does all that. So that's cool. So strafing left, I think, should be good. Strafing right, I'm just gonna copy this time around. Boom, strafing right, and I could do this bit by bit, but now we'll just do left. Left, Turn left, and then we can do... Is this right? No, that's not right. Rear thrusters. How long have you been rewriting your game in Godot? So that's kind of a trick question. So I started making my game in Godot or Game Maker Studio. So the last time I worked on it in Game Maker Studio was November 16th, 2022. And then November 20th of 2022, I put a devlog out saying I'm basically porting it to Godot. But that was Godot 3. So now I'm rewriting it in Godot 4 because I've learned a lot from doing all of these devlogs and doing all this stuff. So I've only been rewriting it in Godot 4 for... It's been a few weeks, but I haven't worked on it bit by bit. I haven't worked on it that much. I maybe have probably 6 hours into my rewrite. So I already have working ship code. Like some of the logic can carry over. I just have to refactor it to fit the right syntax for Godot 4. But yeah, so I'm just rewriting it in Godot 4. So it's kind of a trick question. So I don't know if I have this right or not. So if we're turning left, then that means that the right front is true. So if we're turning right, this means that the left front, yeah, so this is right. Left. Bam. So strafing is done. And that should be all we have to do for this. So basically we are managing our thrusters. Oh, I see. You've rewritten once in Godot 3 and now you're converting Godot 3 code to Godot 4 while making it generally better and efficient. Yeah, I'm rebuilding it from the ground up because in Godot 3, my ship code is like 1,500 lines in my ship script, which is really bloated. So in Godot 4, I want to take advantage of something called resources, which allows me to break out, like it's kind of like nodes. I can break it out into smaller nodes, except it doesn't have to, it just represents data and it can be saved to a disk. So for example, instead of my ship just having all the code in, let's see, let's go to my ship code. So here I've only got 66 lines of code or so. So I have a lot of my variables defined in this ship data resource. So if we go to that, you can see I got all these variables defined here. I can add more, and I can create individual implementations of ship data and pass them into my ship script, and it will use that. And then I also have a ship controller, which will allow me to determine, hey, is this a player controlled ship or is it a computer controlled ship? If it's a computer controlled ship, what type of behavior are we using? Do we want it to behave like a fighter or a freighter or a carrier or a frigate or a cruiser or something, right? So I can basically make different types of AI, like behavior logic, without having it all bloated in my ship script here. So for example, all this stuff here, probably a good half of it. So from lines 895 to 1521, that's all AI logic, like programming the behavior of the ship and handling if it's a fighter or a freighter or a cruiser or a carrier. It's all there. I could probably abstract this out in Godot 3. I could refactor it in place, but it'd be a huge pain in the ass. It would break, and I'm gaining a lot more features by going to Godot 4. So I'm just knocking it all out. I'm just re-architecting it from the ground up, reusing a lot of the same old logic, basically refactoring it as I'm doing it, and then I'm making it more modular. So smaller pieces. So I only have to change like a small piece, and that will not break everything else. Because right now my old code is basically a big old house of cards. So those are the pain points I'm running into, and that's what prompted the whole rewrite. I'm glad I pushed through because I wasn't feeling like coding, But now that I'm getting into it, it feels good to just sink my teeth into a problem. I don't get to do that at work very much. Too much context switching. All right, so this is Godot 3. No, this is Godot 4. So now, our ship, let's go to ship test over here. So we have example, we have ship test. So ship data is a Synthocracy shuttle ship. The controller is a player controller. So that's interesting. Ship data. And ship data, I believe, specifies the sprite scene we should use. So that's a packed scene. And then so if we go to our implementation of the ship data, which will be the Synthocracy ship data here, you can see that we're using the sprite scene. So we created an example sprite scene. And this sprite scene allows us to define our area 2D, our collision, as well as our light occlusion at the sprite level. So I feel like I should probably also put thrusters on here as well, because the thrusters will be determined by the sprite. Like where am I going to place the thrusters? That's based on the sprite. So I feel like I should also probably have add child node. Let's add ship thruster controller. Let's add that as a child. And then what I'll do here is I should be able to just basically add a rear thruster on here. And I'll make that a child of that. And then for the sector, I'll specify that as rear. For the texture, that should be fine. I think I already colored it. So now that that's on there, now if I go back to my ship script, so we have ship data. So we have a sprite 2D. We're doing our sprite scene instance. So we should also probably get a reference to that as well. Or maybe, well, I have to add it on the sprite scene itself. Let me think on this here. So this is just sprite 2D. I don't have any special, it's just a scene. It's not a, oh, it is a, here we go. I do have it defined, sprite stuff. So we expose our area 2D so that anyone can interact with it. So we're also going to expose our ship thruster controller as well. So we'll do a onReady var, and we'll do ship. We'll just call it thruster controller. Thruster controller, which is of type ship thruster controller, and it will equal ship thruster controller. So that way, this is the expected shape. So we're also going to add ship thruster controller, and then we'll do ship thrusters. So I'll do the ellipses in front of it. That way it basically says like, hey, as many ship thrusters as you need, right? So we'll do that. So ship thruster controller, so that should be there now. So if I save that and I go back into my ship, so sprite stuff, so we have our SBR, that's just a var. So then we're also going to track our, let's see, we're going to do onReady thruster controller. So we'll do a onReady var thruster controller of type ship thruster controller, and that will equal our, let's see, what's it going to be called though? I feel like I should not do onReady. I think what I might do is I might just declare it as a variable. I'll leave it 0 value for now, and then here I don't have to connect any signals currently, but I will set our thruster controller. And that should let me do the thing. So we'll do thruster controller equals SPR dot thruster. So this is a sprite 2D. Ship data sprite scene instantiate. So what this actually should be is a sprite stuff. So once I have that, we can add that child, and then I can do SPR thruster controller, since that's referenced in that type, and I can just set that. So now our thruster controller, we can manage that. So down here, we can do thruster controller dot manage thrusters, and we can just pass in our ship controls, which are declared up here. So input. So at the top of our process, we can just pass in our input. Let's see if it works. Hey, I'm back. Welcome back, Mystery. Let's see if I broke the game. Come on, I'm in here, damn it. There we go. Okay. So it kind of works. Thruster behaves a little weird. So that's kind of cool. All right. I mean, otherwise, it looks like it would kind of work. But there's a few tweaks we have to make to it. So with our thruster, I'm pretty sure there's like a flag I can just set. And I want to say it is time, particles, texture. There's no sub-emitter. There's no collisions, drawing. Local coordinates. We turn that to on. We'll save it. And then now, if we go here, so the thrusters never stop emitting, though, is a problem. And I also want them to appear below the ship as well. So we got some work to do. So why is that not updating? So ship, manage thrusters, we're passing in the input. So here, we're setting the emitting to be false. So it should be working, but I wonder, let me just test this here. So it's still emitting. Okay. Otherwise, it looks good. I might also add like a light source or something on it to make it cool. But it is emitting. It is local to the thing now, but it's not stopping emitting. So I'm going to add a little debug line here. Print. Accelerating. And I'm going to put something else here. Print. Bleh. Okay. So that's going to spam my console when I run it. So you can see we have bleh. Then if I go down here, we're accelerating. Bleh. So it is actually setting it. That is working how it should be. But it's not setting the emitting to be false. So let's go to our set emitting function. Thruster emitting equals emitting, which is what we're setting here. So let's take a look at ship thruster and the GPU particles 2D, which is what we're setting, because we're extending that emitting variable, it's defaulting to true. If one shot is true, use the finished signal for one shot emitters. I'm not doing one shot though. So I should be setting it to be false. Because it's not set to be a one shot emitter. Emitting is on. There's no sub emitter. It's not a one shot. Although maybe it should be. Huh. What happens if we set it to be a one shot? I'm curious. Doesn't do shit, which is fine. We'll save that. But now it's not doing anything. Oh. Because we didn't turn emitting on. So why is it not setting it to be emitting? This is Socrates side thruster. We're going to add thruster to this. We can set that as we put it on things. So for rear thruster, extends GPU particles 2D, which should allow us to manage that. But for some reason, it's not doing that. I don't see anything in our debugger. Well, this is interesting, isn't it? Let's go to our ship thruster controller. And then what I'll do is, if instance is valid thruster, print. I'm going to put a message here, and if we're hitting this, then thruster is not valid for some reason, or if we're not hitting it. So we're not hitting it, so thrusters is not valid. Why would it not be valid? Thrusters, an array of ship thruster, or thruster in thrusters. Why would the instance not be valid? It's there. Now, if I don't have that, it's probably going to crash. I don't know if everyone else can see. It's a little blurry. I mean, it is kind of small on the phone. I don't really have a good way to like zoom in super big, because then I can't really see much. But yeah. So we'll go that big. That should be fine there. There we go. That should be a little more visible. So let's see, thruster emitting. So this is not valid. Why is this not valid? So what we're going to do here is I'm going to print thruster, and I'm going to just put in the thruster. So we're going to save. It's never firing that set emitting. Why is that not even firing? I think the live stream is a little blurry, but it's fine. It might be. I'm not sure. So this isn't even like firing. Manage thrusters. So this isn't even for thruster in thrusters. So none of this is firing. Is this even firing? Print. Hello. Yeah, so that's firing. So we're going through thruster and thrusters. We're passing in an array of ship thruster. So we're passing in our rear thruster array. So interesting. So it's not initializing it properly. So let's see. Let's add a debug line here. Print. Let's see. Do we have thrusters? And then we'll just add children. Save. Oh, let's also turn off that the other debug message I had here. Save. So Synthocracy Thruster 1 of type GPU Particles 2D. So it's not actually showing as that class. So what I have to do is I need to, this could potentially break it is the problem. I want to change type to be a ship thruster. It kept it. Cool. Hell yeah. So let me go into my other one here. I'm going to change the type of this to also be a ship thruster. Save that. Keeps everything. Fantastic. So now let's see if it works. So it's still showing as GPU particles. So maybe what I have to do is go into my example sprite. This is of type ship thruster. Let's remove that. Let's add that back on. Oops, nope. Put the thruster like right there. We'll save it. It's still showing as type GPU particles, even though I changed the type. What the fuck? Well, that's an interesting bug. I think, oh, my internet's going bad. Peace. What's up, Snow Globe Juice? I drink Snow Globe Juice. Okay, I don't even know what that means. Snow Globe Juice? Wow. All right, let's see if we can figure this out. So, example sprite, we have a ship thruster controller. We have a ship thruster. We know because it actually gives us our sector variable that we specified here. So we know that that's working. So what the deezy? So now I'm going to add another one. Can I rotate this easily? So let's do left front. And for the transform, we'll rotate it. Oh, that does not work either. Let's do this. Let's just get rid of this for now. Delete that. Okay. We'll go into this one. I think I had to go in here and set it to be local coordinate. Where was that? That was drawing, I believe. Local coordinates. Yes. There we go. Cool. So now that should work. Now I can add that over here to example sprite. So I can just be all like a bam. And then I can move it. We should be able to rotate it. There we go. We'll do just 90. And then we'll add that one like right here. Right? So ship thruster controller, let's do ordering. The Z index, I want that to be 1. That way I think it's below it. Oh, a higher Z index will display in front of others. Oh. Let's set that to be 0. Maybe we'll do like -1. There we go. Now that appears behind how we like. So this thruster here, This is going to be a left front thruster. So now we can add another side thruster. And then what we're going to do here, transform, we're going to rotate this the other direction. We're going to go -90. And then we're just going to drag this pig like right here. And this sector is going to be right front. We're just going to add another one. Transform, we're going to make this one also 90. We're going to add this pig like right here. Seems kind of cool to put that there. And this will be left rear. And then we'll just add one more. We will rotate this pig -90. And we'll scooch it right over here. And this sector is going to be right rear. Save. So, these are all emitting no matter what we do. So we have to... There's a quick fix that we can do for it. I can just specify, hey, it should be a GPU particle like 2D. Which I guess I could make that work. So that would not be the worst thing ever, but it, in theory, should be able to frickin' tell that it is class name ship thruster. It extends this. Do I have to like declare it underneath? Is that why it's being a pain in the ass? What if we do it that way? No, they're all GPU particles still. So that has no bearing. So let's see. Godot 4 get class is not showing the class name, only the extended class. Let's see what this says. Get class on custom classes. Oh, thing is my class. Okay, we can try that instead. Maybe that's our problem. So let's go to our sector here. Get children. If child is... And then we can just do ship thruster. Let's see if that works. Oh, actually, I know why it's not working. If child is not ship thruster. Okay. Look at that. It's kind of working. Not well. Some of the turning ones are not working. So I fucked something up somewhere. But we got that working. So, somewhat. Let's go to thruster controller. So manage thrusters. If we're turning left, we want right front and left rear to be true. Sector dot. Looks pretty solid, man. I mean, kind of working. Oh, this is what I did wrong, I think. We have left rear, right rear. Then we have right, left front. No, that should be it. Left front, left rear, right rear. Oh. Left front, left rear, right rear. That should be there. So right front, append thruster. So we do have those thrusters. Do we have thrusters? Yes, we do. Tell you what, let's go ahead and do this. And let's just say print not a thruster. We'll do some debug lines here. And then I'm going to say I'm just going to put in basically what sector they are. So we'll do left front. So I can see in the console like what it's doing, right front, left rear, and then we'll do right rear. And we already have a print line for that. So let's see what happens here. So rear, left front, left rear, right rear. So it is doing it. It is appending it to, but it's being derpy. Okay, so it's a problem with the strafing logic then. Huh. Yeah, it's kind of acting weird. But it is working. Somewhat. So set emitting. So let's go ahead and figure this out. So turning left. If our controls are set to be turn left, we are set emitting right front and left rear to be true. Else, if control strafe left is not right, we're going to set our right front to be. Let's also actually, this might kind of overload it, but I want to see print controls. I want to see what our controls are. So, okay, that's a fucking problem. It's not giving me much info at all. So print, I don't know, controls dot. There's got to be a better way to print out the properties of the resource. Godot for print resource variables. That'll probably be a bigger pain in the ass than I think it is. So we'll just leave that out for now. So ship controls. So I think I know what's going on. We do have to do else. And then we do have to group these under here. If, indent that. If, and indent that. Add a colon here. And we got to do the same thing over here. Oops. What the hell is going on? Stop that. There we go. Got to add a colon there. That's fine. There. So there we go. Now I think it should work. Only one side's working. But if we strafe, that works. So we're getting closer. Let's just look at our logic here. So turning left, right front true, left rear true. Else, We're setting those to be false if we're not strafing. Turning right, left front true, right rear true, setting those to false if we're not strafing. If we're strafing, so that should still work though. That left front one is not firing no matter what I do, except if I strafe. Well, what the shit? So there's the rear one. That's that one. It is marked as left front sector. Right front, left rear, right rear, and rear thruster. So those are all set. But this thruster does not emit. So there's probably something stupid in our logic here. So ship thruster controller. If we're turning right, set left front to true. Controls turn left, control turn right, turn left, turn right. Oh, I know what I did. I think these are backwards. Because if we're turning left, we don't want our left front to be emitted. So let's just swap these. And I think that this should solve it. There we go. Now it's behaving like it should. We have thrusters moving. Everything's working great. Let's strafe. We can strafe. Look at that. Perfect. So cool. Thrusters are now working. And I like the way that that works. So that's just implementing existing functionality from the old game. I think these thrusters look a lot better than the other ones did. And especially if I add like a light source to them or something, that might be kind of nice. So yeah, kind of cool. Kind of cool. Yeah, I can fly. I can fly my ship around. Woo! If I want to be cool, I could add forward thrusters, but I'm not going to do that. Because you can gradually slow down if you're accelerating, but normally you can just accelerate in the other direction. There we go. Cool. So that works. Fun. Awesome. So let's go ahead and open in File Manager. Let's open up our terminal. Git status, git add, git status, git commit -m works on ship thrusters, and it works. Woo! Git status again, just to make sure we got everything. Git push origin. We're on the main branch because I'm working solo. So we'll push that to my GitHub, and then it's on the cloud. So sweet. It's already 9:30. Holy cow. So let's take a look at what we should work on next. So we got some ship functionality going. We've done it with resources and nodes. So that means if I reorganize my project, it doesn't break references, which is nice. And implementations. We have test ship. So we have an example of sprite stuff. So sprite stuff is expected to be of this node structure. We have a sprite 2D. We have an area 2D. We have a collision polygon. A light occluder 2D. So yeah. The example. Ship thruster controller with the thrusters. Yeah. So I could add other ships and stuff with this, and I could add my thrusters and stuff on there. So all that works. So for ship movement, we basically have ship movement good. I don't have weapons and stuff designed yet. I have a rough idea of what I want to do with those. So let's see here. Taking a look at my game dev general. Because I posted some big ass diagram there in my Discord, which is already kind of wrong. But let me open in browser. So this is kind of what I was thinking of data wise as I was putting this together. This is already wrong based on like what I have. But it does give me a little farther. So for example, like if we zoom in to, God damn it, just fucking let me pan around. So like ship, we have ship data, ship sprite data, that's already phased out. That's basically sprite stuff, which is part of ship data. Ship controller, we do have that. We have player controller, AI controller, which we will have different AI controllers based on the behavior we want that ship to have. And I might even have more of that. So ship thrusters are built into ship sprite stuff. So sprite stuff. We can work on shields. We can work on upgrades, weapons, inventory, other upgrade capabilities. So yeah, I think it's coming together. I'm real eager to start working on like the story and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's coming together pretty well, which is cool. So I say we end this by doing some market research. So let me shut this down. Let me shut the old game down. And let's pop open. So I've been playing a lot of Endless Sky lately, which is also a free open source game on Steam. It's kind of funny. They basically made the game that I wanted to make. So if you guys want to know what I'm kind of going for, this game is inspired by the same game that my game is inspired by, which is Escape Velocity Nova. So they basically took everything that made Escape Velocity Nova awesome and kind of expanded on it. So if I enter my ship, I'm on a world right now. I basically have like this big old like defensive ship with like a shit ton of turrets on it, which is cool. And oh, I'm being attacked by pirates. That's fun. I don't know how loud the sound is. Let me see. Probably pretty damn loud. So I'm just shredding enemies. So pirates tried to attack me. I have a fleet. Right, there's asteroids and stuff. We could mine if we want to. There's a whole map with all these different star systems that we can go to. So if I want to jump to this star system, my fleet will prepare, and then we'll jump over there. Boom. So yeah, so there's lots of asteroids and stuff here. There's locations we can land on. There's other ships we can hail. So this is kind of the game that I want to make, basically, except I want to have my own story, my own ships, my own art, all that kind of stuff. But this is largely the bones of what I want to make. And if you kind of look at what I had going on in my old game, so let's pop that open. Let's run that. So let's run it. In addition to having like a dope ass soundtrack, let's go to load. Oh, actually, let's go run it. Let's do a new game. Overwrite old save. Let's land. F. So it's kind of the same idea, right? There are different systems you can go to. And so you can do that. You can land on planets. You could go buy things. So the menu's obviously a bit different. This is kind of thrown together. And you could buy and sell items. So you could buy new ships. There's no storyline or anything in this yet. So I'm basically rebuilding what I had, and then I want to start adding that storyline stuff. So basically, once I get like the vertical slice of the core functionality of the game, the ships working, the ship AI working, the weapons, upgrades, inventory, trading, locations, planets, star systems, events, story, dialogue, all that stuff. Once I get all that stuff working, then I can start, once I get that vertical slice done, I can start expanding by adding more ships, more stuff. But I have to get those core systems defined, and then I can make the rest of it. And once I get that going, a lot of the work we'll be doing of just creating more assets, more ships, more weapons, more upgrades, more stories, more events, more missions, more planets, more star systems, all that stuff. But the core loop of the game is, let's say I want to buy this trader, right? I can purchase this bad boy for a lot of money. Now I can go, I've got 120 tons of cargo. Let's go ahead and buy some medical supplies. I'm going to buy all those I can. I'm going to finalize that. I'm going to leave. So now I have this big old ship with some cargo. And we're going to head over to this location over here. And once I get far enough out, I'll be able to jump. There we go. So we're zooming in, boom, cheesy little hyperspace thing, and then bam, we're in the next planet or the next star system. So over here, flew too close to the sun. We're gonna go to this planet over here, and we're gonna land here. Then we can go to the epicenter of commerce. And then we could go, oh, look, we're going to sell these medical supplies. Bam, sold them. Guess what? We're going to buy some xenon because that's super low right now. I'm going to buy that. I'm going to finalize that. And then we're going to take back off to Genesis over here. There's another trader over there. And yeah, then we're going to jump once we get far enough out. Also boost, that's fun. There we go. So now we are blasting off to the other planet. And then where we can land on Earth or whatnot, and then we can basically trade. And yeah. So trading and stuff was working. Ship combat was kind of working. There's a lot more that I want to do with that, and that will involve tweaking the AI. So if I go here and I sell a bunch of the xenon stuff, I'm gonna make a big old fatty profit at 1.44 mil. Hells yeah. And then biggity bam. We made money. So that's kind of cool. Also, the UI is pretty basic. You can mouse over ships and stuff. You can kind of select them. There you go. I got that big guy selected. So you can see some stats about it. I could even attack him if I wanted to. Probably not the best idea. There you go. I just shot him. Now he's gonna light me up like a fucking Christmas tree, and there's not much I can do about it. So there you go. I'm toast, and he just destroyed me. So yeah. So I got some of the core stuff working, but I've been playing a lot of Endless Sky because I like the way that they do a lot of things, and they basically made the game that I want to make. But I think the storyline for mine is going to be a lot more engaging. I don't know about a lot more. It'll be a different storyline, so it'll be engaging nonetheless. But the core gameplay loops are kind of still the same. And I don't know. I love this type of game, and I've always wanted to make it. and I want to make a good one. So that's why I'm going through and I'm rewriting it like yet again in Godot 4. But I think it's coming along. So anyway, it's almost 10. I slept like shit. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to make some food first because I didn't eat yet. Whoops. And yeah, so today is Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. I'm not going to be streaming tomorrow. So my next stream will probably be Sunday evening. Most likely at around 8 p.m. Eastern. It'll probably be like a quick 2-3 hour stream. And then I'll be back Monday through Thursday. Pretty much around 6 p.m. to about 10 p.m. Eastern time. That's kind of like my schedule now that I stream. So we'll do that. We'll see how I feel. I might do some more. I'm probably going to work on this more in my spare time over the weekend. Now that I've got I have a little bit more progress made on it. And I want to keep defining the other systems. And once I get those kind of working, then I think the rest of it's going to fall into place pretty quick. I'm starting to wrap my head around how Godot does things. It makes sense to me. I'm making it work. Thinking about it long term, it should be scalable. So for example, for these thrusters, I can just make other implementations of thrusters. So like aliens are not going to have these like bluish, whitish kind of thrusters. They're going to have some other shit, right? They're going to have some sweet alien thrusters. So I can just make versions of those and then it'll still work in the same way because I've still defined the thruster the same way. So I can define what a thing should be, and then I can make multiple implementations of that thing, and it all behaves the same way. And I wasn't doing that very well when I ported my game from GameMaker to Godot the first time. So now that I'm porting it from Godot 3 to Godot 4, I'm like rewriting it from scratch. I'm keeping all those design decisions in mind. And yeah. Anyway, that's enough of me yammering. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Even the people who are not really necessarily into game dev, just hanging out, asking questions, chilling. That's awesome. Appreciate it. Anyway, I'll catch you guys next time. I'll probably catch you guys Sunday evening. I'll either be playing Valheim or I'll be working on my game. Or I might even, maybe I'll figure out how to hook up my guitar and I can play some music or something like that. I might work on that as well. I don't know. But anyway, nice stream, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll catch you guys next time. Have a good night. Peace.